Welcome back to my channel. You're watching Does Is Here, and for today's video I'm going to do some quick art tutorials on how to draw different facial features and facial expressions via different head structures, and also how you draw different types of shapes that pertain to your drawing. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. Make sure you also hit the notification button anytime my videos get updated. And for the rest of the video, I'm going to be going over each facial expression on what you can do to improve it. So, and I also excuse if the camera keeps going in and out. It was very hard to kind of film from this because the camera kept being shaky and all that. But that being said, hold on, let me just zoom in real quick. Alright, there we go. So what I'm going to be doing now is, of course, the first facial expression, happy. With each facial expression, what you're going to do is kind of section or layer it so that on the face, what you're going to do here is basically draw lines so that one is for the eyes, the other is for the forehead, the nose, and then the lips. During this process, you're also going to pay close attention to the upper areas such as the eyebrows and also the eyelids. That's what's really going to carry the face in sorts of like facial expressions. And then in terms of lips, depending on how detailed you want to go with this, I just did what I usually do with my basic signatures, but it's very simple, very basic way on how to do any sort of facial expression, especially since if you were, say, trying to make a comic or just drawing a character design, it's really just to help signify the layers. For this overall video, everything's going to be generalized. I'm going to make later art tutorials on how to draw like a happy face, or how to draw a detailed face with shadows, and also on how to draw like the neck bones, the muscles, and different stuff, just so each character is designed with layers. And if you guys are wondering like my type of style, I feel like anytime you're trying to feel or just trying to find your overall type of art style, it's always going to be a little bit tricky and a little bit difficult. But that being said, it's once you get sort of the hang of it, automatically it'll also be a breeze for that. But for this particular video, I'm just going to keep things very plain and simple. Not too difficult, not too hard. Also, go ahead, feel free to pause the video each time, just so you guys can see overall what I did. What I usually like to do is shade in and color my eyes, so that way you can see the detail up close. I feel with any type of facial expression, you also have to be mindful. Like, it's really not that hard. It's just basic. Just make sure the lines and circles really do carry the face, and also carries the structure of it as well. Sorry, I'm mumbling. So what you see here is like for each one, I did use different types of head shapes. I will go over that in later videos as well, on how I want some of these characters to look like. So for this one, sad as a facial expression, I wanted to like show each character as like a different face, so that way you can get an overall view of like, okay, what is it that these characters are going to, I guess, express. When I'm drawing the nose, I like to draw a bit of an oval in the middle, because usually I know with the nose, they're just like, oh, you just draw like a little point, but really it's just, it varies depending on what type of facial structure that you want your character to be. The same thing with the eyes, I drew ovals there, and I'm also drawing lines beneath, because I know that when you do make a sad face, the bottom of your eyes kind of go up, and the top part of your eyes also go down to signify that it's giving that closed or shut feeling. I'm also going to straighten up the corners a little bit, so that way you you can see it more in detail. And also I gave this character some eyelashes and some also more characterized outlines of the eyes and the pupils. People are probably seeing this like, oh, she's using like an anime style of drawing. Well, I'm actually, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. But it's also, I feel like if you study and observe different styles, you might also find something that you're comfortable with. I like watching different types of cartoons and different types of animes just to get an overall feel of like, okay, how can I draw this face in a certain art style that I want it to look like. And then from there, I go on and I move on to other emotions, and it's really just going to carry itself from there. How I like to think about when you draw different types of expressions for each character is you always have to make sure that each character overall has like a different type of, how do I say, line that draws from it. Kind of like the color wheel as one example. You need to have like red and yellow in order to make orange, or you need to have red and blue in order to make purple, or green and yellow in order to make blue. Well, that's the same thing with different types of facial features and structures. As you can see here, angry, and it's very much going to be shown in the next facial feature that I display for this video, that with each emotion and each like detail that it comes by, each expression that you show on each character, it does overall revolve back to different types of emotions. So hold on, let me finish up this expression and then I'll show you in just one quick second. And what I'm also going to do is draw arrows to signify, like, okay, so this expression came from this way, and then this expression came from another way, and then that's how you are able to get this type of detail for each expression. And then again, sorry if I'm going a little bit too fast, go ahead and pause the video and rewind it just so you can see how I did it. What I'm going to do, this is just an overall intro video for the next tutorial that I do. For the next video, I'm going to show you guys more in detail on how I do certain things, and I'm going to have a different video for like the eyes, the nose, and the lips, and then carry on from there. So for example, crying. So for the crying emotion, as I'm about to display right here, it just carries off from like the sad emotion. I know with the sad emotion, I was a lot more like just simple, like sunken face and then like a pout on the lip from there. So what I'm gonna do for the crying emotion, I'm just going to intensify it a lot more. I'm going to intensify the details in the eye shapes. Say for example, on the eyelids, for the top eyelid, it's going to be more down, and for the bottom eyelid, it's going to be more up, to show you that while this person is crying, their face is also being sunken as well, like the person can barely see through all the tears. And then I didn't show that much detail on the forehead, I will in a later video, but depending on how intensified or sad the person is, you can give that person wrinkles, you can give that person like forehead dents, anything that can really carry the emotion, just for you to see that this person is crying or sad in any way. And also when it comes to the mouth, I will also do that in later videos. I'm going to show like the mouth pouting, or the lips going up, or the lips going down, or each one, and then from there I'll carry it on for the next one. So as you can see through the arrows, I'm just going to, for the tears, you're just going to just draw down little droplets of water, as you know how tears roll down the cheeks and roll off the face, and then that's how, you know, it brings out the emotion through each character. and through each design that each one chooses. So for the next one, Confused, I'm also going to show that the Confused look is basically just kind of like a neutral or blank look. This is really to my interpretation of what I believe a Confused look could look like. I'm not saying it's the only one. I know everyone has their own sort of confused look or confused facial feature that they have, and it pretty much varies from there. But this one I'm just going to show you a real quick example, and then from there I'll carry on to the next expression, which is annoyed. Now, as you can see, as I'm drawing the confused emotion, I'm also showing that it can be interpreted as a blank face or a blank look. And again, the confused expression is definitely depending on like how you view it. And it also goes back into like how the expressions connect together. For example, how I'm gonna do the annoyed face, just like how I did the facial expression of like crying, how it directly comes back from just being a sad emotion, so does annoyed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tie annoyed onto like an angry emotion. Say for example, like you're irritated or you're frustrated about something, that just all revolves back into like those different types of facial features or facial expressions and how they can be interpreted as similar. And again, go ahead and pause the video if you need to see more on how I did or how I drew the different types of shapes of the eyelids or just the eyeballs, if that'll help you draw your own different types of characters. For this character, I'm going to give it more of a silly and dark shadow look. I'm not going to really pay too much details on the pupils because that way it can look a little bit more different than just the angry expression, and from there you can just see overall how I put in more details with the eyebrows and make it a little bit more less silly than it was before. And then after that, it also will go back and tie into the next emotion, which is the WTF face. Again, that can vary and it depends per person, I guess, and per different type of expression. So overall, what I'm basically trying to show you in each expression that I do in this video is that depending on like what the character is doing or what the character is expressing onto each panel, you're going to just draw a different face and expression just so it can carry on with the view. And it's just to also understand that when you do, say for example, draw a panel for like a comic or just like a short story, the facial expressions, in my opinion, really do bring out, okay, this character is a lot more detailed or passionate about what they're doing. And it brings a comedic, or it could bring a comedic outlook into what the actual scene is playing out or panning out to be. I know that lots of the times when you're drawing faces, sometimes it doesn't come out right and you make tons of mistakes. That's okay. It shows you that you can always go back and change it, so that way, like, if you're not feeling what you did before, it'll also show you that, okay, if this expression is not going to work, or say for example, if I can't draw this expression right, maybe I can just kind of tweak the face a little bit to get it to where I want it to be. I know that when I started drawing the faces, especially when it came to showing the teeth or showing like more detail in the mouth, it was very hard for me in the beginning, but then overall I kind of experimented a little bit more for what I wanted each character to show, and then overall that helped me really grasp, okay, I can get this a character design to look a lot more expressive, especially when I'm trying to have it interact with other characters that I make on the page. Lots of the times I like drawing to be honest, I just now starting to get to drawing the eyebrows in better, or just in more detail, mainly because I feel like, okay, the eyebrows, if people like really see it that way, they really do bring out a whole type of expression. For example, for this one, the blank face, it's just a blank face, but I know when you add eyebrows onto it, it makes it a lot more, it gives a different mood or a different attitude to the character than it did before. So right now, how this character has like no eyebrows, it's just a literal just blank face, like a stunned, or it's kind of like what just happened. But now here, when I give a little bit more detail, say for example the eyelid, and then now when I add in the bottom and the top to the face, and then when I add the eyebrows on them, it gives off a completely different vibe and a whole different mood to the character. Like at first I'm like, okay, it was blank, but now this is just a more blank and detailed expression to how the character actually feels during the transitions in the story, and also the transitions into what you want them to do next. For this one, it's just, I just wanted to draw a surprise Pikachu face, so this is really just for a different expression altogether. I remember when this meme came out, I was like, oh my god, Pikachu, yay! And now, I'm just going to officially add his face onto the expression list. So then after I finish doing that, I'm going to show you other different types of expressions that can strive from basically what I said previously before. So when I say that facial expressions overall derive from like the main source and the main route, just like on the color wheel, for example, and I'm just using these as examples, they don't have to directly come from this. You have happy, you have sad, you have angry, you have blank, and you have another fifth emotion somewhere. Well, for example, this expression, I'm drunk, I'm gonna draw that this person has a happy emotion, and that I'm just gonna add other little details onto this person just so you can see, okay, this person's happy because, you know, they're a little bit wasted. Just like how I drew with crying is directly derived from sad, and I just added more details just to show the expression. Or just like when I drew annoyed, it's derived from angry, and I added a little bit more details just to give it a different overall vibe and an overall view on what I wanted this character to look like. I know lots of the times if people do like watch movies or cartoons or watch anime and stuff like that, you'll see all these different types of emotions that are expressed on the face. And so it's very important that you pay attention to those types of details, especially when you are coming up with designs and making different types of viewpoints for the characters. So for this one, confident, again, this can look like anything. It's really towards your own interpretation, how you want this character to look confident, but it's also going to derive from, say for example, a happy face or a neutral face. Both of them, like if you can use them as like a reference to combine, and like, okay, what does a confident person look like? And then from confidence, you can take an idea of that and strive it towards an arrogant facial expression in order for it to really show how the character feels throughout the story, and also how they feel throughout each panel that you want to draw them in, or each sequence that you want to draw them with, each interaction that they have with different characters in the story. So after I finish up drawing the confidence expression, I'll move on to the fear expression, which also derives from a sad face or from a what the F face that I drew before. Alright, and again, if you like what you see, go ahead and feel free to comment, like, and subscribe to my channel. If you have any other suggestions on what you guys want me to draw, go ahead and leave it down below or contact me for more information. I also want to take the time to introduce my Patreon. If you guys feel interested in that as well, go ahead and support me. Very much appreciate it. And also support some other artists that I know. I'll leave the link down in the description, and from there, go ahead, just leave me some tips or some comments or just anything that would help myself improve overall. Help myself improve overall, because I always want to make sure, especially when it comes to my art, that I keep getting better and better, so that way I can move on and do more things. And if you guys find this entertaining, I want to also improve on that. I don't want to just keep creating content that's going to be boring for people. I want to also entertain and make sure you guys are getting the information as correctly as possible. And then that way, especially when I do start doing step-by-step processes, it's also easier for people to understand, okay, am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Or am I not going like at a constant pace? Any feedback is very much appreciated, and I'll just keep creating and creating overall for my art, and also for people to for themselves to get better when they do watch my content. Now I'm going to move on to the shocked facial expression. Again, I'm just going to drive it all the way back to fear. So just like when I said before, the fear facial expression, it can either be like it could be a mixed combination of a sad face or what the F face, or like a blank face, whatever you can help you to get it as a reference on how to really draw in detail and intensify that emotion. So just like when shocked, it's a shocked face doesn't necessarily mean oh, the face is scared or it's in fear. A shocked face can be anything. Again, these are just my examples of what the expression can actually look like in terms of helping create the character. A shocked face can just honestly, it can be a surprised Pikachu face, or it can be a blank face, or it can show an angry face. Overall, it's just to your interpretation on how you want it to be able to display the message onto the character, how the character interacts with other characters, and also how it interacts with the story. So I'm going to draw this facial expression with a lot more shadows and a lot more details, so that way you can get an overall view of okay, this is an example of what the character could look like in terms of a shocked face or a shocked expression. And after this one, we have 3 more expressions, and then I'm going to give you an overall panel view of what all the expressions could look like. Okay, so hold on. Let me finish shading this real quick. So as you can see here, the fear expression and the shocked expression, they're somewhat similar, but they both give off a different vibe. So now I'm going to move on to the tired expression. I know lots of people when they're tired, especially if they ever finish an exam or just something that's very stressful, or they just got off work or anything, it gives a whole mood and a whole vibe. I know that when I get tired sometimes, I do get dark circles under my eyes, so that's what I'm going to draw for this facial expression. And then I'm also going to be putting in a detail, especially on the lips, that kind of signifies, oh, they're completely done, or they're just basically done with this task. And the eyebrows also help with that as well. In the next video, I'll show how like the eyebrows or the eyelids can really help, especially when it comes to displaying or giving off the emotion that you want to see in each face. And then that'll help, especially when you want the characters to display the correct interactions that they have with other people. Because interactions between two characters are very important, especially when displaying the story and also showing, okay, this is how this character might feel towards the other character, or this is how this character might feel towards the main antagonist or protagonist of the story. Okay. So now I'm going to move on to, so this emotion, again, it can just go back to either happy or confident or whatever. A pleased emotion is just like, okay, whatever brings this character joy. So it's not exactly like a happy emotion or expression. It's more just like, okay, this character is enjoying themselves or entertained or like very much into what's happening either with another character or just what's happening in the story. So that being said, I'm just gonna finish up the details here, and I might give it a blush sequence just so it can really portray like the different emotion, so it just doesn't look like a plain happy face. Hold on, let me finish it. See, there you go. So I put the blushes on there so it shows like a different mood or a vibe towards this person or this expression. And then let me finish up the detail here. Alright. And now, as you can see with this expression, I'm going to move on to the next and final facial expression before I show the overall expression, sleepy. So again, everything is kind of like it all comes back and relates to itself. Just like how it can go with either a blank or a tired face. Sleepy is just like the next expression over, or you can use it as a reference to it. Lots of the times when you watch a cartoon or watch anime, you see that when a person's sleeping, they're drooling or they have this little snot bubble or whatever. Their eyes are closed and it just gives off a different vibe or movement expression into the characters. In later videos, I'll also show how to draw like the eyelids closed or the eyelids open or in between, and that gives off a different mood for each facial expression so that the audience that's viewing your story just doesn't think, okay, this person's either neutral or is happy all the time. No, it gives off a different whole vibe and it helps the story transition between each character design that they have.